Hey everyone, Richard Robbins here. Well, the numbers are in for September and obviously the first 9 months of the year for the Toronto Real Estate Board. Now, I've got some new graphics for you, so I hope you'll appreciate the graphics. I think it's going to be easier for you to understand what I'm talking about. But also, this might be a little bit longer because we're at a point in time in the year where I get a pretty good idea what's happening for the rest of the year, and I really want to share that with you so you can close out 2018, but also be prepared for 2019. So I'm hopeful that this is going to be very valuable for you as a real estate sales professional. So first of all, let's start here. If we look, this is our sales and active listings in the Toronto Real Estate Board. This is the whole board, of course, okay? And this is September 2017 versus September 2018. So let's have a look here. You can see 2017, we did just over 6,300 sales, and we were just over 6,400. So our sales was actually up by 1.9%. which is very positive, I believe. However, our listings also went up. We had 19,000 active listings, and now we have 20,000 active listings. So our active listings are up by 5.6%. So what does that mean when it comes to supply and demand, right? Months of inventory. Because remember, if we take the sales numbers and we divide them into the active listings, that shows us how many months of inventory we have, which determines whether we're a buyer's market or we're a seller's market. And 4 to 6 months of inventory is balanced. Anything above 6 is going to be a buyer's market. Anything below 4 is going to be more of a seller's market. So let's look at our months of inventory. So 2017, we had 3 months of inventory, right? So again, 19,000, divide that into 19,000 gives us 3 months of inventory. Well, right now we got 3.1, so it's very close to being the same. So our market really, from how busy it is, hasn't changed dramatically from September of last year. But we got some really interesting stuff here going forward. So have a look at this here. So if we do year to date, I've never done this before, but I put this together for you. In 2017, at the end of September, we had done 73,152 sales. Well, if you look now, we did 60,000 up to the end of September 2018, which means we're down by 18%. Now, what does the 18% mean? So let's have a look at this. If we take 73,000 sales and 60,000 sales, okay, we did 13,000 less sales in the first 9 months of the year. But what does 13,000 sales means? There's obviously 2 ends to every sale. So that means we have 26,000 less sales so far this year to the end of September as we did all of last year. So I should say right up to September of last year. So interesting. As much as we look at this and say 18%, some people might think it's a big number, not a big number. Well, guess what? It's 26,000 ends that we're now missing. So think about this. Our pie, if our pie was this large last year, our pie is now this big, which means if you want to maintain your market share or you want to maintain what you did last year or improve on what you did last year, which I'm hoping you'll do, that means you got to get better at what you do because you've got to increase your piece of the pie, don't you? So you can maintain the same or even do a little bit more. So as we move forward here, here's your months of inventory. Now, the reason I did this graphic is I think this is a cool graphic you might want to consider doing for your particular area, wherever you happen to work. I'm doing the whole Toronto Real Estate Board, but let's face it, you could do Markham, you could do Mississauga, you could do Oakville, you could do a certain area of downtown Toronto. You pick the area you work and create a graphic like this, because if we look at January of 2017, look at our months of inventory. It was very, very low. We go along, you can see it lowered a little bit in February, went up a little bit in March, and then it started to go up quite a bit here. Now, why did it start to go up here? That's when the foreign buyer tax went in, which was April of 2017. So that's when our market started to shift, and you can see inventory kept going up to a high point right here in July of last year. And then it started to slip down here, and we ended the year, if you look at it, with 3 months of inventory. We were sitting right here, which, by the way, is still a very, very healthy market, and still in most markets, that is still a seller's market, okay? And I'll talk about micro markets in just a minute. So let's look at this year. Well, this year really has been really close to the same. We haven't seen dramatic change in our months of inventory this year. They shifted a little bit, but they haven't shifted that much. So can you imagine now if you're working with, say, a seller or buyer, and you sit down and you can show them what's going on, now you can have more powerful conversations with them, and I call it tripping over the truth, help them make the right decision in terms of what they should price their home at. Is it a good time to buy? Give them all the information to help them make a more informed decision. Okay, so what we have here is this is a sales comparison, okay, last year to this year. So again, if we look at this, we can see our sales were relatively high in January, February, March, April, they started to go down. Foreign buyer tax, remember, look what happens in 2017. They started to drop right off. But let's look what happened here in January of 2018. Well, they're a little lower, a little lower, a little lower, a little lower, because this market was really good in 17, wasn't it? It was really hot. Foreign buyer tax comes in, everything starts to change a little bit. And what happened now, all of a sudden, the sales start to increase and they start to be higher than they were in 2017, including September, which is all good, right? So we're sort of trending the right way right now, even with everything that's been going on. Stress testing in January. We've had 4 interest rate bumps in the last year and a half. Probably have another one this fall, maybe October or December. So looking at that, you know, we're still in a very healthy market. Here's your listings. So active listings, January, September. So look at, we hardly had any listings in January. Hot market, multiple offers and everything. Hot market, multiple offers, hot market. And then foreign buyer tax. Look what happens to our inventory. It starts to rise. Why? Because they're not selling as much. Homes are still coming on the market, but there's not as many selling. So it all starts to change. So you can see what happened here, okay? And then if you look at 2018, we had a lot of inventory, and it kept going up and up and up. It went down a little bit here, and it's up slightly right here. But again, I don't want to be over dramatic in talking about this because generally speaking, the market is still very good. Actually, Toronto has the second best market in all of Canada. Ottawa being number 1, Toronto being number 2. If you look at Vancouver, right now, Vancouver market, they're getting killed. Like they're up to detached, expensive homes is up, 12 months or more of inventory. Think about that. The average market is operating with between 7 and 8 months of inventory. So we're in very good shape, okay, in the Toronto marketplace. So here's your micro markets. Remember, a micro market could be a property type. It could be a geographical area. So if we look at the whole Toronto Real Estate Board, detached properties, we have 4.2 months of inventory. Semi-detached, 1.9. Townhouses, 2.3. And condos, we have 2.1. Again, like I talked about before, condo market's really strong. Townhouse market's really strong. Semi-detached. But the market that's been weakening the most is the detached properties. Now, if you look at detached properties and say the 416, that are, say, over $2 million, you're going to have more inventory, aren't you? Same thing if you go to the 905. So the higher price a detached is, the more inventory you're going to have in that market segment. So you've got to be looking at these numbers when you're working with a buyer, working with a seller, so you can have valuable conversations. So again, they trip over the truth. They see the truth. Helps them make better decisions. As we move forward here, I think you'll find this interesting. This is micro markets, but in the 416 and the 905. Now, we know the 416 generally is going to be stronger than the 905, and it is. Okay? So if you look at it, if we look at detached, we've got 3.5 months of inventory, opposed to if we look at the whole market, right? We had less. Now we've got 3.5 months of inventory, but we got 4.5 months of inventory in the 905. So 416 doing better, 905 a little bit weaker, but still not crazy bad, right? Then we go over here, 1.5 in semi-detached, 2.2 in 905. 416 condos 2, 905 has got 2.6. So all in all, the market is still very healthy. 416 is doing much better than the 905. But let's look at the projections for the rest of this year. This is interesting right here. Here's the historical annual sales of the Toronto Real Estate Board. 2008, 75,000. 87, 86, 89, 85, 87, 93. 2015, 2016, okay, this was an anomaly. This market was out of control, crazy busy. You remember those if you're in the business. And then, of course, foreign buyer tax came in, brought us down a little bit in sort of the last 3 quarters of 2017, but we still did 92,000 sales. Well, look at 92,000 sales compared to historic. It's unbelievable. It's still very, very good. And everybody was complaining in 2017, but it was still a hot market. So what's going on? If I take 60,000 sales up to the end of September, if I divide that by 9 months, okay, January through September, and I multiply it by 12, which will tell us basically where we might come in, well, we're projected to come in about 80,000. I think it'll be just a little bit more than 80,000. But here's what we really need to understand. If we come in at 80,000 sales, and if we did 92,000, okay, last year in 2017, that's a difference of 12,000. A difference of 12,000 is a difference of 24,000 ends. That means the market, no matter how you cut it, from 2017, which was slightly weaker than 15 and 16, we're going to be off, you can see, by a substantial amount of sales. So the important thing here for, I think, you as a real estate professional is you've got to get better at what it is you do, right? You've got to be prospecting more. You got to be marketing more. You got to be getting great content like this out. You got to be pricing property properly. You got to be getting price reductions. You got to be encouraging buyers it's a good time to buy, because chances are rates are probably going to go up, which means a buyer right now should be working with a bank to make sure they have a commitment. And also, if you look at, say, something that's got less than 4 months of inventory, chances are prices are rising, which they are. So have a look at this. This is interesting. This is your average price from 2008 right through to the end of September. So you can see, let's just say this was 400,000. So we're 400, 10 years later, which is right here, we were at 823. That means that in 10 years, prices over doubled. Was real estate a good investment? 100%. Is real estate still a good investment? 100%. Look at this. If we look at this, yes, we are at 823, but right now at the end of September, we're at 796. And by the way, September, the price was up over September of last year. So our prices are rising, everybody, right now. So let's not get scared, worried, confused. Yes, if you've got a high-end detached property in 416 or 905, that price might be weakening. But generally speaking, the market is just fine. You know what we have? We've got more of what I would call a market like we had years ago. But here's the deal. Here's what happens, is everybody gets used to this. And let me give you an example. I ride a bike in the morning, and I use this app called Peloton. And anyway, you ride a bike and you got a rider encouraging you to pick up speed, right? More tension, pick up your RPMs. Well, here's what happened to me just 2 days ago. I'm riding the bike, and they call it cadence. And cadence is your RPM, how fast you're pedaling, right? Now, and if you're pedaling at 80, that's a decent cadence, but you could do that for probably 30, 45 minutes, no problem. But then all of a sudden, we were doing what they call a sprint. When we did this sprint, all of a sudden they wanted our cadence at 105. They wanted it there for 60 seconds. So I go up to 105 and I'm pedaling at 105 as fast as I can, right? And I'm sitting there and I go, 60 seconds, I don't know if I can make it 60 seconds, right? And I'm going, I'm going to make it. And I'm crazy with stuff like this. So I'm determined that I'm going to keep that cadence above 105 right till the instructor tells me that I can let up. Well, all of a sudden we get right to the end. And as we get to the end, all of a sudden the instructor goes, now go to 115. I'm going, are you kidding me? I thought we were going to go down. I thought we were going to rest. I thought we were going to relax. And all of a sudden I hear it. So I start pedaling even faster. I get up to 115, right? We did that for 30 seconds. I'm at 115, going as fast as I possibly can. And then the instructor says, now back to 105. Now when I went back to 105, did 105 feel fast? No. 105, boy, that was really comfortable all of a sudden. Where when I went from 80 to 105, right, it was killing me. So you got to understand that what happens is we get used to something. I was used to 105. I go to 115, it's killing me, and then all of a sudden I go back down to 105 and I go, this is really easy. So it's the same thing here. We had two unbelievable markets, market out of control, multiple offers and everything, things going crazy, and we start to get used to this. Then what happens, we say, oh, I don't have to worry too much about pricing a house right, do I? Because if I make a mistake, the market will catch it. Because the market's going up really fast, right? People are crazy. They're paying anything for a house. Same with buyers. You think about buyers when the market was like this, okay, right around here, even here, those crazy buyers don't have to be motivated. They're self-motivated, aren't they? All you got to do is tell them there's a house available. They'll run out and look at it because there's nothing. And then all of a sudden they're putting in offers because they know there's going to be 16, 17, 8, 24 offers. See, buyers were self-motivated. But what you have to do now is you got to change that. You got to change your dialogues. You got to start having valuable conversations with sellers and helping them understand what it is they need to do to price that home properly. An example, let's say there's 4 months of inventory. 4 months of inventory. You know what that means? That means 1 out of 4 homes are going to sell in any given month. Now, you go and meet with a seller, and you're talking to a seller, you have to help them see that. Say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, right now, 25% of the properties that are on the market, in your market, like in your micro market, are selling. Yes, we've got 4 months of inventory. That means when we go to market, 1 out of 4 are going to sell, and 3 out of 4 are not. So what we have to do is we got to make sure that, number one, your house shows extremely well, obviously, okay, because we've got to make it sort of a bit of a beauty contest, and it's a little bit of a price war as well. So what we also have to do is we got to make sure that we price your home at a price that if a buyer was to look at your home and the other properties available that would be somewhat similar to yours, that we got to do everything in our power to get them to choose your house. That's got to be what our goal is, right? Maybe you want to now take them out and look at the homes that are for sale. Let them see their competition. Help them trip over the truth. Remember, your job is to give them all the information you can give them to help them make a highly valuable decision that will best serve them. Think about buyers. Buyers generally right now, because they're reading the newspapers, what do they think? Oh, it's a buyer's market. Oh, I can get a great deal. You know what I mean? Oh, it's not a good time to buy because prices are going down. That's what a lot of them are thinking. Oh, rates are unbelievably high. You know, we shouldn't be buying right now. Let's wait. Prices are going down. I'm going, well, just a minute. If you're buying a semi, a condo, or an inexpensive detached property, prices aren't going down, folks. Prices are going up. So you can do an analysis of a building, a condominium building, and how many months of inventory. Well, if you got 2 months of inventory, 50% are selling every single month, and that is a market that is escalating in price. Which means if you wait to buy a condo, semi, inexpensive detached property, you're going to pay more next month and the month after that and the month after that than you're going to pay right now, and probably rates are going to go up in the announcement in either October or December. And they'll probably bump up a little bit next year as well. It probably is just going to happen because inflation right now is a little bit stronger. But you need to understand this. You need to have conversations with people so they can make better informed decisions, because most buyers and sellers think they know as much as you. You have to have a conversation with them where they realize they don't know as much as you. I call it the value gap. They think they know, you have a conversation, they realize they didn't know as much as they needed, and then they look to you as being valuable. You now become their advisor. That's sort of your positioning now in real estate. So give that some thought. I hope this was helpful. Market is just fine, everybody, and I think the next few months are going to be even a little bit better. So remember, it's a beautiful life, everybody. Make it count.